Hi Whirlpool. This is a video which I hope you'll also find as helpful as the lawnmower ones I've made recently about air conditioning. One of the points of discussion which I regularly get involved with on the forums is cheap split systems. There really seems to be an overwhelming opposition by some air conditioning posters in the forums about these machines. They claim them to be noisy, unreliable, unwarrantable, and an issue for those who install them, despite the fact that they promise to be good units of good quality for cheap money. I've debated it for some time, and making the John Deere lawnmower videos has showed me that grabbing a camera and quickly throwing a video together can probably put more information in people's hands to make their own choices about than I can by prattling away at the keyboard. And so I'd like to introduce you to my Polyair split systems. These are 3.4 kilowatt fixed rate split systems, so they're the old school type air conditioners. They don't have inverters, which means they don't have outdoor boards and they don't have the complex overheads and support issues that go with that technology. This unit has a Toshiba compressor, but more than that, this unit, by what I've been able to determine by looking on the Carrier Alpha webpage, is actually a Toshiba Carrier split system in entirety from one end to the other in all but name. In fact, the badge where Polyair currently goes, the Derby badge, would normally be a Carrier badge. The head unit itself, the location of the indicator lamps and the remote control input are exactly the same as the Carrier Alpha. And this really seems in our modern world to be a bit of a no-brainer. If a company were purchasing air conditioning units that they wanted manufactured as cheaply as possible, it would make sense to jump on board with a design that someone else was already producing. Carrier Toshiba, as I understand it, are the largest air conditioning manufacturer in the world, and Carrier actually holds the mantle of inventing refrigerated air conditioning way back when. So this unit is a Carrier Toshiba unit, wearing Polyair badges. It's running in cooling mode, it's on auto at this point. I'm just going to shut up for a moment so you can hear the unit, and to be fair, I'll move the camera closer. These units were installed 3 years ago. I've done basic maintenance in terms of cleaning the filters and cleaning the plastic fascia that the units sort of contained within. Other than that, I've had no difficulties. They are not noisy. They do not drum or click. I don't have any faults with them. Everything seems to work fairly well as advertised. I have 3 of these units. The remote control for them is here. It is a Carrier Alpha remote control. Again, if I were to peel this badge off, it might well say Carrier underneath it. I'm sure those of you who have worked on Toshiba Carrier units before will recognise this remote control, and yes, I'm sure that there'll be those that will tell me that this remote control is used by many units and doesn't prove a thing. But I think on the weight of the remote control being exactly the same as the Carriers, the overall construction of the head unit being sheerly identical, and the position of the indicators and pickups, and the fact that it uses a Toshiba compressor with an identical looking outdoor unit, which I'll show you in a moment, gives credence to this unit being a Carrier Toshiba. I'd like to take you outside now to show you how much noise the outdoor unit of my $500 split doesn't make. One moment. We'll just go through here. So here we are. Outside, here's the outdoor unit, the quiet hum of that fixed rate compressor. It's a bit sad, needs a bit of a dust off, but it doesn't give me any trouble, and it isn't noisy. So the question now becomes, why would someone spend over double the money for a split system air conditioner when you can buy one for $500 that has components that are functionally and practically identical to those of a big name air conditioning manufacturer that's generally sold through air conditioning installers, that isn't noisy, doesn't fault, and works really well. Surely it's worth some buyers looking at these. I'm really discouraged by the negativity towards cheaper split systems that we see on Whirlpool from time to time. No one ever quantifies why these units are bad, and they make generalisations that imply that all units are bad. Clearly this unit isn't bad. Isn't it worth, therefore, in the spirit of fairness, maybe recommending this unit? Why is it that we should believe that units made in Thailand are necessarily better than units made in China? Both countries have pretty crummy standards of living. Both countries are known throughout the world for manufacturing things on the cheap. I understand some of the dearer units are made in Thailand. Why are they better? And why doesn't anyone provide any proof of any kind, as I have here today, in showing you my split systems, what they're made of, and the noise they don't make? Why hasn't anyone come forward with something to the contrary? We hear a lot of to and fro, and I've been guilty of it myself. But I'm hoping now that as a gesture of good faith, someone will come forward and at least demonstrate that there's something to these cheap splits are bad, or maybe, even better, will acknowledge that maybe cheap splits aren't bad, and that maybe, just maybe, the poly-air splits, if no one else, and I find that hard to believe, are worth a look. I put it to you forum members, you don't need to buy a Panna, and you don't need to buy a Dakin.